Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football presented by BKCW. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We'll get to all those here in just a little bit. But first, guys, we're going to start with the latest availability report that was put out by Texas, and definitely some changes on this since we looked at it yesterday, with the biggest one, of course, Isaiah Bond now being listed as doubtful.
We do not expect him to play on Saturday. Just beyond the term doubtful, we just don't expect him to play. So the Longhorns, they're look no further than a guy like Ryan Wingo to be a potential big play asset for Texas in this game against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is susceptible to the pass. I think they're 90th plus in the country against the pass. So look for that to be a reality. But other guys are going to have to step up because Bond has been the team's most prolific receiver on the season to date. Big news there. And one that is a little discouraging because we had thought earlier in the week that Bond was just nursing that ankle back to health after playing a little bit against Georgia. But it appears he retweaked it and now will sit for not only this week, but also next week on the bye week to get ready for the next set of games. Longhorns, after this weekend, will be down to their final 4 games. They'll be 2/3 of the way through the season, regular season at least.
I expect Silas Bolden to have a bigger role in this game as well. That's what I expect. I expect the top 4 guys at wide receiver in this game to be Golden, Wingo, DeAndre Moore, and Silas Bolden. We'll see if how much time Jonte gets on the field against Vanderbilt. But, look, that'll be interesting. But I expect Silas Bolden to get more snaps than Jonte Cook in this game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think we could be looking at more 12 personnel.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yep.
Texas wants to run the football and establish the run to give Quinn Ewers more time. That's something they haven't done the previous 2 games. And frankly, Quinn Ewers has looked out of sorts as part of that process. So if Texas could establish the run early, it might give and slow down that pass rush. So we'll see what if Texas is able to do that early and often with either 11 personnel or 12 personnel. They need to run the football.
I was going to say the good news for Vanderbilt on this, because a lot of guys that were questionable got upgraded to probable, as you'd expect. And that includes linebacker Langston Patterson, their leading tackler last year, who missed the Kentucky and Ball State game. So they're going to get back one of their top defensive players. Obviously, Martell Height, starting corner. Miles Capers, who missed the last game, probable. Linus Zunk, one of their better interior defensive line pass rushers, probable. Cedric Alexander and A.J. Newberry, both running backs, probable. And that's big for them to have both those backs, guys, because that is their entire production, either in the run game or receiving game at the running back position. It's those 2 guys, both of them Texans, by the way. So they are Vanderbilt getting some key pieces back on defense. They're going to be just about full speed on defense for this game Saturday. And look, the one thing I'll say, thinking about this game more and more, driving on the road a lot, this is a throw the kitchen sink at it game for Vanderbilt. Nobody thought they'd be here, ranked number 25. Nobody thought they'd beat Alabama, even Virginia Tech to start the year. Certainly not after Alabama. You didn't think they'd follow up with a road win at Kentucky. But this is Bobby. Like, they're going to throw everything at this game. This is a kitchen sink game for them because, I mean, the reality of this is if they pull off one more upset against the top 10 team at home, then Vanderbilt's had one of their best seasons in a long time. They're going to throw everything at this game.
Yeah, I got to say this real quick. Blake's computer just crashed, so we'll come back to other stuff in a second. I want to add this. The other thing that of note for the Longhorns, Jerry, is that our guy, Trey Wisner, was removed from that injury list. So he's no longer probable. He's just off of it altogether, which means he should be good to go. I will say this. It's apparent that Steve Sarkisian is developing a pattern this year with his injury reports. You're questionable. And then if you're not going to play, I think you're doubtful. If you are going to play, you're probable.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way he's going right now with his injury reports. You saw what Clark Lee did for his. all of those guys that were probable yesterday were originally listed as questionable early in the week. So each of these coaches are using these lists different ways, but at least from Steve Sarkisian, for our edification, we're learning a little bit more about who he is and what he does and that sort of thing. All right, we've got plenty of questions to get to. We got to talk about the line. We got to talk about the weather. There's a lot of stuff we can talk to. But Jerry, I notice your background right now, and frankly, I'm kind of jealous because that means you're down in Florida and you went and visited one of Texas's top prospects remaining on the board yesterday, Javian Hilson out of Cocoa, Florida.
Yeah. So Thunder Pup asked why I am. I'm in Jupiter right now. I was in Cocoa yesterday, so I'm down in Jupiter now. I think Blake Monroe's back. He's got the video. But was at practice yesterday at Cocoa. Spent some time. I've known the head coach there, Coach Snyder, for a while. He was the OC at St. Thomas Aquinas back in my ESPN Under Armour days, and obviously they had a ton of guys there. The Bosas played in the Under Armour game, and a number of other guys that came through there. But Javian Hilson, 238 pounds. That's him at 238 right there. He has a little bit of a sore knee, so they didn't let him go through full walk-through practice yesterday, but he did anyways because he's pushed us through. You know, this is why I visit schools, and I hadn't had a chance to sit down. Like I got there about 30 minutes before practice started, and here's one more of him in a pursuit drill, and the trainer was trying to hold him out, and he wasn't having any of it. Not only is he in pursuit drill, of course, he's going to be the first one to the sidelines, but one of the things that I really got from yesterday talking with the defensive back coach, D coordinator before the head coach over there is this kid's a film junkie. And this is not what I expected to hear. I did not know this. I knew he trained really hard. And I know football meant something to him, and it wasn't all a facade like with some kids it can be. But they all said, look, we're driving home on the bus from a road game, and he watches film. They said he watches more film than any other player on the team, and it's not even close. And that includes a junior quarterback commitment to Michigan who can really spin it, by the way. Good luck to him at Michigan. But Javian Hilson is a football junkie. He is a very focused kid. I think he is a really high-level prospect. And you never 100% know how it's going to turn out. But I walked away from there 99% thinking he's going to maximize his talent if he doesn't sustain major injury. There's something that would keep him from it. This kid's very focused on football being his future. So you put that on top of the talent you see on the huddle tape, and you got a prospect that this is why all these schools are fighting for him, even after he was once committed to Bama, to Nick Saban. Then he flipped to Florida State, and he stayed with Florida State over Texas. Now he'll be at A&M this weekend, Syracuse next weekend, both official visits, and that's it for him. He went to a Florida game. He went to the FSU Clemson game. Oof. But I think Texas is in a pretty good spot for him headed into the A&M and Syracuse visits. Football-focused kid. He loved. We're going to have a 13-minute video interview with him come out later today on Texas Football, I believe, or this weekend. He absolutely raved about the Texas-Georgia experience, everything the University of Texas has at their disposal for him to help maximize his talent, his relationship with PK, Kenny Baker. I think Texas continues to be in a pretty good spot here. Now you just got to weather the storm of the next two official visits to A&M and Syracuse. And he does plan on having a ceremony at Cocoa High on December 4th as of today. Could that change? Potentially. But right now, December 4th. So this is one of those that stops that I really loved everything I heard from the Cocoa coaching staff on Javian Hilson. And look, these guys have had a lot of really good players at Cocoa. They've been to 3 straight semifinals or state championship games. But Coach Snyder was also at St. Thomas Aquinas. And what I asked him about Hilson was, is he a guy that can handle everything that's going to come at him through NIL, through the college experience? And he pretty much said, look, he said he's not comparing him to as a player. He said at all. But he said he's got the same mental focus that Nick Bosa had. Because Nick Bosa had more mental focus than Joey Bosa did coming out of high school. I covered them both. He said he's got the same focus that Nick Bosa had on training, on preparation, on game day. He said he just has that mental ability and that mental want to prepare the way you have to prepare to go on and be a really tremendous football player. So, again, he wasn't comparing him as a player to a guy who arguably is the best defensive player in the NFL. He wasn't saying that. He just said the way he is at this age, he knows. He was like, because I asked him, I said, what do you think here? He said, no chance this guy's a bust. Zero. He said, this guy's going to be a player unless something sustains major injury. He said he's wired the right way. He prepares the right way.
Good stuff, Jerry. Jerry, just from looking at those clips, he's a little bit thicker than I thought he would be. I thought he was going to be like 6'3.5", 210, 215. You're going to have to add a bunch of weight, but he's already bigger in the lower body maybe than a lot of people anticipated, and myself included.
Yeah, 238 pounds, as he said, is where he's at right now. He expects 255, 260 to be his body max out. I mean, he's one of those guys who already looks at that. He's like, yeah, he says it on the video. But I think he's thinking 260 will be his max out weight. But he stays in contact with Colin Simmons and Zena. And I don't want to give away everything that's in the video later, but he does talk about that, about what Colin's told him about his experience at Texas. And again, this is one of those situations where kids, when they go visit campus, they look at a game different than fans do. They're looking at how can this impact my future? Not who wins and loses necessarily, because every kid thinks, I'll just go in and help us win the game. That's just the way kids are at. That's the way they think. That's their mindset. So these kids are looking at it different from the fans and recruiting. And that's always been the case and always will be.
Hey, Jerry, what about A&M's a new team on him? When did that start? Syracuse, didn't really expect that one either. It's an odd assortment of teams, to be honest, that after he bolted from his FSU commitment.
Yeah, A&M's been recruiting him for a while. He's been on campus there twice when he was a little younger. So they've been recruiting him for a while. I think the key there is, look, Florida State just haven't been able to do enough to really give him options, legitimate options right now. And Elijah Robinson, who was at A&M, D-line coach, does a really good job recruiting. Obviously, he's on that staff at Syracuse now. And they're just trying to get as many Florida kids up for official visits as they can. And I think that one's more a visit, something to do, because Coco has off week after this. They play. No, they don't. They have this week, and then they have Rockledge, and they have an off week. So I think that one, I'm not sure that's in play. It's not going to shock me if this doesn't come down to Texas versus Texas A&M at the end of the day, because he's going to be on campus at A&M this weekend, and it's going to be another wild atmosphere for him with LSU in town.
Hey, Jerry, we also have a couple people asking about Justice Terry and if you have any update on him.
Yeah, look, it's pretty much he likes Texas. He's at different times in this recruitment, and a lot of times he's liked the idea of getting out of state and doing something different. And that sounds all well and good, and I get it. I understand it. He was committed to USC at one point in time. But I just go back to guys that Georgia feels like they have to have. Kirby, especially on the defensive front, they just haven't lost many of those guys. And Texas knows that's what they're up against on this deal. And Auburn does too. No different. It's not just Texas, Auburn. Everybody knows what they're up against with the recruitment of Justice Terry. He's really good friends with some guys that are in the Georgia class. But he has liked the idea of getting out of Georgia and doing something different for college. Is Auburn really that? I don't know. He's down by Columbus, Georgia, so it's not far, right? So we'll see at the end of the day. But Georgia's really tough to beat on the defensive front seven guys they feel like they have to have. And Texas knows that, but you got to go in and take your swing.
I got to say this: Christine Anderson is the winner for me today. Happy Friday, boys and girls. It's always Cafe Bustelo. That's what I'm drinking this morning, Christine. I didn't drink the protein shake, though. I got to add that. Hey, we need to say thank you to one of our key sponsors. That is BKCW. Today's show being brought to you by BKCW Business Insurance. If your business had a frustrating insurance or employee benefits renewal, it's most likely that you were caught in the insurance trap where the insurance agent is actually providing little to no value. BKCW takes your business out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting, not just price quoting. Operating out of its headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your insurance costs while effectively managing your company's risk and employee benefits. BKCW has risk consultants that specialize in many different industries, from construction and transportation companies to nonprofits, restaurant groups, school districts. You'll get matched up with someone who knows your risk and can help you escape the insurance trap. Get started with a free risk assessment at bkcw.com or send an email to info@bkcw.com to get started and get the support you deserve.
Thank you for that, Bobby. And I wanted to go ahead and answer this question real quick here from Thunder Pup. Any guests today? I tried. I was telling Jerry before we came on, I tried very hard to get us a Vanderbilt beat writer, but it just didn't work out. So, well,
there aren't many.
No, I could only find 2.
They're still celebrating the Alabama.
There are not many Vanderbilt beat writers.
No. Like I said, I can only find 2, and it didn't work out. So it is what it is. All right, guys.
Hey, I have a question to answer. Jane Betty. It's not popping up, is it? My questions aren't popping up.
Nope.
Jerry, you're breaking up a little bit, buddy. Right now, you're breaking up. What do you got, Blake? What's next? How many girlfriends? Jerry Hamilton, how many girlfriends do you have on I-10 between Houston and Florida? You probably know every cashier at Buc-ee's between the 2 places.
I was going to say, if you count Buc-ee's and Chick-fil-A, 30 or 40. Those are my girlfriends. Buc-ee's and Chick-fil-A. If you count it by the nugget, we're talking a lot.
Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. All right, guys.
My beach cam is down, I think.
Hey, this is something else. Jerry mentioned, I'll keep that up there if you don't mind. That's Jason Washington. That's Jordan's dad. He joins us every so often on Coffee and Football to hang out with us. I spoke to Jordan yesterday, and we're going to have a one-on-one interview with Jordan Washington later today. Get to know him kind of interview as part of the Burnt Ends NIL initiative. Jordan made himself available for an interview. Good stuff coming from the young man down in the Houston area. I think y'all will be proud that he's a Longhorn. And Jason Washington, we had this conversation on an internal chat between Jerry, Blake, myself, and CJ yesterday. Really good, high-quality young man. And what was said was, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So good stuff for you. I hope you guys enjoy that interview later. You really get to know, I think, one of the guys that is going to be, I don't know if he's going to be a captain, but he's going to be one of those guys that certainly is a leader on the team long term. You'll get to know him a little bit in an interview later today.
I think Jerry's going to work on his connection issues, and then he'll be right back joining us here. So, Bobby, while we wait on him, I did want to go ahead and look at the line here. As we've done throughout the week. And I'm going to bring it up. And really not much has changed. Your matchup predictor, which I know you're not a big fan of, but it's actually gone up in favor of Texas to 90.6%. Texas, of course, an 18.5-point favorite.
Yeah. My big thing, Blake, on this stuff for you guys and everyone else here is Texas is currently sitting at maybe an 18.5-point favorite or whatever. The reality of it is that the Diego Pavia is a competitor. And I wrote this morning on OnTexasFootball.com. Two-time state champion high school wrestler, won a national championship in junior college football. And then the last 2 years, he's led New Mexico State to a winning record. And he won 10 games at New Mexico State. So my opinion right now is that the Longhorns literally are facing maybe the best competitor, not necessarily the best quarterback, not necessarily the most talented, but they may be facing the best competitor they faced all season in Diego Pavia. I really, really believe that. it looks like everybody is gone. I'm going solo here right now here on Texas Football Morning Edition, Coffee and Football. I tell you what I'm going to do while those guys try to get their connection headed up. We'll get this going and try to see that we get all the questions in. Drew M. Now that Bond is listed as doubtful, is Wingo in line to get more snaps? Does Cook finally make the rotation? We talked about this briefly, Drew M. I think Wingo is definitely in line to get more snaps. Cook may or may not make the rotation. Just the bottom line. I think that's one. This one from Jim Fowler, and welcome back, Blake. Appreciate you. What is happening with Michael Kern, the punter? He was not listed on the injury report last week, but did not play. Is he still injured? Is it disciplinary, or has he slipped down the depth chart? I think that he's slipped down the depth chart right now. Now, we'll see whether or not he's back this week and if Ian Ratliff has been inserted as the full-time punter. I have no problem if he's coming off a one-game injury that has hurt, that has kept, even though he's available, it hasn't made him 100%, if that makes sense, and maybe he's slipped down. But we'll see if Ian Ratliff, from a consistency perspective and from a directional perspective, has been that good or what have you. Jerry's now back, and he's in his car. We'll go to the next question here. VFL TexX, could QE3's issues be nerves coming back from an injury to face the two toughest defenses we'll face all season? Look, I don't think OU's defense is better than A&M's. I'm not sure about that. And other than the pass rush, I'm not sure Georgia's is going to be necessarily the numbers don't support that except for the pass rush. I'll just put it that way. I do think nerves may have had something to do with it. I think he may still have some level of injury lingering, even though Steve Sarkisian's saying he's good to go. Just the way he's cowering right now in the pocket tells me there has to be something else going on, because he's never, to Rod Baber's point last week or earlier this week, that was his worst. That was his worst showing as a Longhorn last week. And so I feel like something extra is going on there. We'll see what happens, though.
A&M's front four is really good, but they don't have the linebackers Georgia has. I mean, that's the difference for me, is that Georgia has the whole entire front seven. There's no Jalen Walker on A&M's defense at linebacker. But their defensive front's really talented for sure. And in Oklahoma's interesting. I think A&M has better power players up front. I think Oklahoma may have better pass rush guys. The problem with Oklahoma, we talked about the problem with Oklahoma's defense, is when your offense is inept, you can't ask a defense to hold up all season against the schedule they're playing and play at the very highest level every snap when your offense can't do anything to help you. If Oklahoma had a good offense, Oklahoma's defense would be even better. Now, Oklahoma's defense, we talked about it going into the Texas game. Gentry Williams being out for the season was a big deal for them. He was a guy he was being mocked to be a first or second round corner. And then their Cheetah Dolby went out. So they've had significant injuries. One thing A&M's had, they've stayed healthy on defense.
Okay. Now then, hopefully we've gotten over our technical difficulties. Hopefully we're good, guys. We're going to take a couple more questions. This is a super chat from Jeff Carey. How fast are the safeties at Vanderbilt?
I don't know if they're fast, right? But Taylor's a good player. DeRicky Wright's a big, long, rangy kid. I don't think either one's going to go to the combine, if they go to the combine, and blow away testing, or at their pro days, or what necessarily. CJ Taylor's a pretty good he's a pretty instinctive player, got a good frame on him. I think they're more rangy, physical guys that are played a lot of football. I mean, that's the one thing about Vanderbilt. If you look at their starters, their guys that started the last game, they have a lot of experience on that team. So they've been kind of building to this season. And then obviously they got the wave of Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers in, which changed the whole offense for them, but they have 5 seniors on the offensive line that started against Ball State. The other tight end, who's a highly recruited kid's a junior. Maybe where their youngest is at corner. But defensively, those safeties, I wouldn't say they're speedsters. They're experienced, tough, rangy kids.
And then our next one, guys, comes from Dante. And Dante says, Bobby, I can't believe our offense has been a letdown. Last year it was our secondary. This year it's our quarterback. I'm upset that the Vandy game is a game.
Yeah, I get it, Dante. I think no one would have predicted this preseason, at least. I will say this. The offense has been a letdown in the last 2 games, not overall. Maybe it started a little bit against Mississippi State, where they scored 35 points, but really most of it was in the second half. I think that good defenses have a way of doing that, and it was ill-timed probably because Quinn was injured. And so I really believe this week is one of those telling weeks. We've talked about important games all season, and of course, every game is important. Don't get me wrong, but Texas has to get back to executing at a high level. Look, Texas has more talent than Vanderbilt. Period. Full stop. Okay. The only way Texas loses this game is if Texas is out executed by Vanderbilt. That is the only way. Okay. Now, they have a high level of execution going on at Vanderbilt right now with Diego Pavia. He is he's turned the ball over, I think, once all season. Okay. He is playing extremely well on the ground and through the air. He's accurate, doesn't have the greatest arm, doesn't always look great coming out, but he is a athletic, hard-nosed, well-executed football player. He's going to maximize whatever's available to him 9 times out of 10. This week, and I talked about it all week long, the Texas offense has not executed well for 4 weeks. They're dropping passes. They're jumping off sides, holding calls at inopportune times. And it's being compounded by holding calls on punt returns that back you up inside your own 10. They are not playing a good brand of football on offense right now, period. They played probably a good brand of offensive football for a quarter against Oklahoma. And that's when Trey Weiser started breaking runs. Okay? So that's my point on all of this. This is a game, and Dante, I hear you. This is a game where, it's okay that you're challenged by people. Vanderbilt's having a special season. But Texas has more talent. The only way they lose this is if they get out executed or out coached. And I don't think they're going to get out coached. I think it's very possible. The negative I have going in this, quarterback plays poorly. The offensive line starts jumping on 3rd and goal from the 1. Things like that. That's bothersome. Those are the things that I worry about in this game.
And then one other super chat, fellas. This one from Douglas. Douglas, thank you as always. And he says, why did Texas stop posting a depth chart on their website?
Probably because of a number of different reasons, but one of them has to be the transfer portal and people poking their nose around it, opponents, right? I've heard that from more than one coach around the country. I haven't necessarily heard that from Texas. I think that's part of it. I also think that, with the injury reports now, it's pretty easy to tell if you have an original starting one.
I got an unpopular opinion. I think it's kind of BS. It's not released, honestly. And I would like then for the SEC, the next thing they do is have to make one available. I think it's BS-y, honestly. My opinion.
I think the only one that you really need is the injury report. That allows the game to be legitimized. It takes the gambling component out of concern. for the student athlete. Everything else it just doesn't matter to me. Now, maybe it does to some folks.
And then one other one, fellas, Brandon Huey. Thank you, Brandon. He says, could this be the same situation as when Xavier Worthy had a broken hand and nobody was told? I'm a little worried. You'd tell us, right, Bobby?
If I knew for sure that Quinn was still 100% for sure that Quinn was still bothered by the oblique strain, and I've had several different people send me professional opinions from truly from doctors about oblique strains and how difficult they are to return from and be 100%. Not that they can't play, but actually be 100%. But you can only live by what Sark tells you. That's a reality, and there is to your point. There is precedence here for Sark not to be fully forthcoming as it relates to injuries about Xavier Worthy or anybody on the roster. Now, with this thing that we just talked about, if he wasn't thinking about playing Quinn, he'd have to put him as probable. But I don't know where that's at. I think we may know more again this week, because if he comes out and has a clean pocket and still looks timid and cowering in the pocket, something's wrong beyond just his mental state. I mean, there should be a clean pocket at times against Vanderbilt. Period.
Ashley asked, did anybody see Pitt last night? Anybody missed that game? It was one of the crazier games ever. By the way, and people can talk about all the craziness within the game, but Narduzzi's getting really close to I think being should be the national coach of the year in college football. People, if they don't follow Pitt, they very rarely get a highly ranked recruit, and they always get, because they are tremendous evaluators on defense, and they always get a guy ripped every year that's a really good player, or 2 or 3 from them. The fact that guy's sitting there at 7-0 right now, with how tough it is for that program, you're not beating Penn State on guys, you're not beating Notre Dame, you're not beating Ohio State on guys in that region. Not happening. Maybe 1 out of 20. And then, because they evaluate so well on defense and they do such a good job in the state of Florida in some of these areas, those kids always get ripped from them if they're really good. The fact that what they're doing this year is, I can't tell you how impressive that is from a coaching perspective. And I know that game last night was wild. That's one of the, oh boy, Kyle McCord, he did not have a day.
4 interceptions, I think, in the first half. 3 of them, he threw 3 pick sixes. Can you imagine if that would have happened in the Michigan-Ohio State game? Woo! Yep. That's why he's at Syracuse, yep. Right now. I would add this. So you mentioned coaches of the year. Mine right now would either go to Narduzzi, to your point, or Kurt Cignetti at Indiana.
No doubt. Those are the two.
Like a completely moribund program that he took over at Indiana. I mean, it was on death's doorstep. Or death's doormat, excuse me.
Okay, before we move on, Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there about the good folks at Duck Camp.
I certainly can. I can do that. Not only can I tell you about it, I have the hat right here in my bag. I got all of it for today. I actually wore that a little bit yesterday. Duck Camp is gear that's made for the people that live in the moments out there, where they're fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, football to watch. They like doing all that stuff. So they built a company centered on it, based in Austin, and dedicated to giving people best in class hunting and fishing apparel. There are those of you out there to look forward to the opening day of hunting season and the kickoff of every Longhorn football game with the fervor and excitement of a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. And Duck Camp is here to let you know that from opening day to game day, they've got you completely covered. At Duck Camp, they believe you can't just sit around and wait for the adventure to come to you. You have to get out there, stay out there, and make the most of every second. Here's the great seasons, y'all. Yes, hunting and football. Shop hunting gear at duckcamp.com. Hey, you have to get out there, stay out there, and make the most of every second. Ski Breck in the chat was in Austin last weekend. He's in Memphis on his way to Nashville this weekend. Ski Breck's making the most of every moment. I don't know if he's wearing Duck Camp, but he fit in the breed. That I know from following his posts.
Skibrek got the hat last week at the tailgate, Jerry. So he may be wearing the duck camp hat.
All right, we got a lot of questions here regarding Vanderbilt. We're going to get to those here in just a second. But first, let's take a look at the SEC standings. And I'm going to put them up here on the screen. It's a pretty important week, as we've been saying, for the Longhorns and quite a few other teams. But A&M sitting up there at the top, 4-0, LSU 3-0. Of course, they play each other this weekend. And then we have Georgia at 4-1, Tennessee at 3-1, and Missouri, Texas, and Vanderbilt all at 2-1.
Missouri will probably get knocked if Brady Cook does not go. They won't win at Alabama, I don't think, unless their backup quarterback's going to be a stud. Nobody knows it yet, right? So that's going to knock them to 2 losses. Obviously, and the reality is, if you get 2 losses, you're probably not going to be in the SEC championship game. The way things are starting to shake out, because of some of the head-to-heads, although we don't need to get into all the 3,000-page tiebreaker, but it's starting to work itself out. So obviously at the top, A&M or LSU will have a loss after this weekend. A&M goes to South Carolina next weekend, by the way. Georgia off this week. Kirby was out on the road doing some recruiting. I saw that on social media. But Missouri at Alabama is going to knock somebody back to 2 probably knock Missouri back to 2 losses if Brady Cook doesn't go. Then you have Texas and Vanderbilt, and somebody's going to have 2 losses after Saturday and pretty much be out of the SEC championship game mix, in my opinion.
Look, LSU or A&M has to lose this weekend, so there's going to be one team remaining undefeated in the conference that really holds their own destiny in their hands. If it's A&M, then Texas actually holds its destiny in its hands, by the way. So we'll see how all that goes. But what I think is amazing is look at how many ranked teams there are in this conference right now. 8. 9, actually, if you include Ole Miss. Look at that. 9 teams among the top 25 in the country. This conference is freaking deep. I mean, you can say what you want about, equality of play or parity in the Big 12 when Texas was there. Dude, this one is just darn well deep. That's all there is to it. 9 out of 25 teams. That's look, it's crazy to me. So it's going to be difficult to weave your way through this thing.
Team still in the mix, guys. I actually tweeted this out yesterday, but ESPN put out the SEC championship title odds. Longhorns are still the favorite, 24.6%, followed by LSU, Georgia, A&M, and then Tennessee, and then it gets a little iffy from there on. But Texas still right in the thick of things.
Got to win this weekend, man. They win this weekend, and then you get a week off, and then it's 4 games for the championship, man. That's how it works. All of them winnable.
Obviously, if the winner of LSU A&M, I think, may jump to the top of that list next week. That LSU has a tougher schedule than A&M coming down the stretch, I believe. So, LSU almost really needs to win that game because they're not going to have any margin for error if they lose it. So the LSU has a tougher schedule coming down the stretch versus A&M. Somebody said in the chat, A&M only has 2 wins left. I don't know. I mean, we'll see on that. I mean, I do think there's at least 50-50 chance A&M loses either this weekend to LSU or at South Carolina. But that'd still give them 1 loss in SEC play. But we're getting if Texas handles their business and A&M handles their business, we're getting closer to a scenario where the winner of that game actually goes to the playoffs and the loser may not. It's getting close to that scenario. We'll see what happens the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Both teams enter that game with 1 loss. Both teams are going to the playoffs. That's what I think. If both teams enter that game with 1 loss.
I think the reality of what's going to happen there, I think there's 2 scenarios for it. One team has 2 losses and one team has 1, and the one team so it's a must-win game for the 2-loss team. Or the other one is both teams are 9-2 and the winner goes to the playoff and the loser stays home.
Yeah.
I think those are the two scenarios that are going to end up playing out. I'd be surprised if both teams won out to that point to get to the point. That would surprise me. I think the two most likely scenarios are one team is 10-1, the other team's 9-2, or both teams are 9-2, and the winner goes and the loser stays home.
Our next super chat comes from Jack. Jack, we appreciate it as always. Thank you so much for that. And he says, Horns 32-19. Take it to the bank.
I got 30.
What were y'all's score predictions? Talk about that a little bit. I went 27-17 Texas. I think that Texas is going to still stutter and stumble a little bit on offense at times. I also think that Vanderbilt's going to try to drain some clock and may be effective in doing so at times, reducing that. I think 27 points for the Longhorns. They clearly have a worse defense than OU, and Texas scored 34 there. But I don't know. I mean, something about this game tells me low scoring. I went 27-17. Blake and Jerry, what did y'all do?
I'm 30-20.
So 10-point win.
Yeah, look, if Texas can't move the football enough to score 30 against Vanderbilt, even a lower possession game, that won't be good. Because Vanderbilt, you can throw the ball on Vanderbilt. I actually think Texas can have some success running the football on Vanderbilt. If the Texas defense plays discipline, gap integrity on the D-line, diagnosing with very few false steps at linebacker, and eye discipline in the secondary, I think those are your three keys on defense, especially in those groups. And people say, well, that is every week, but it's especially against the quarterback who's just a off-script playmaker. And they do a lot of things offensively that you aren't going to see and you're not accustomed to seeing with a quarterback who just makes it all kind of work. He puts it all together. And so I think that eye discipline the secondary, if you get caught peeking, Alabama got caught peeking and they got beat over the top. And Pavia does not have that over-the-top arm. So if you're in a contested situation, you like your chances. If you get caught peeking, that's when he makes big plays against you behind the defense. Linebackers, it's a really big game for the linebackers because the diagnosing and no false steps with what they do offensively is going to be key. And up front, absolute gap integrity. I told people if they didn't have a chance, you have some time before the game tomorrow, go watch the Vanderbilt Kentucky kind of 12 minutes of highlights that are I think are on YouTube, and go watch what happened to Kentucky when they lost their gap integrity in that game. Pavia makes you pay. He has really good vision and instincts around that stuff. He has really good feel, and he sees it quickly, immediately, and he's got really good feet. Gap integrity big, diagnosing at linebacker, and eye discipline in the secondary.
So I'm going to go 30. I like your 30 there, Jerry. But 30-13.
That's closer. That's closer to the line. Yeah. So you have them hitting 2 field goals. I have them in a touchdown. I have them making 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
Yep.
That's basically the difference in that.
And the thing I'm looking for Texas offensively, I'm looking for one thing. Early, how quick are Quinn's feet moving? He's got to move his feet better in the last 2 weeks. Bottom line, if you do not move your feet at the quarterback position, if you're not reacting and you don't have reactive foot quickness in the pocket, what have you, you're susceptible against anybody. You cannot play this game with slow feet. Won't happen, never happens. Got to move your feet. The rest doesn't matter if you don't.
Jesse wants to know, what would we learn about this Texas team if they beat Vanderbilt big?
Defense is smart. I do think, to everybody's point, I think that Texas could score 35 on Vanderbilt, 40 on Vanderbilt, and it may still not tell you much about the offense other than they can overwhelm people still, even with Quinn, and we'll see what Quinn does this week, obviously, but I think it'll tell you that Texas has a really smart defense. And that is the reason, frankly, that's the reason I think Texas is going to win this game, is I think that Pavia is a really smart quarterback. I think Texas has really smart defense, though, like smarter than Alabama's defense. No offense to them, but I feel like Texas has been in the same system for 4 years. I think they understand their responsibilities. I think they're senior laden. Several guys in the secondary, although they lost Andrew McCuba for this game, I feel like Texas has the defense to stay with it for this game. That's what I think, Blake and Jerry.
And then Billy wants to know, how many Texas fans are y'all expecting in Nashville?
15 to 20,000. It's an easy flight from every major Texas city. It's a drive for some people. My college roommates staying with me here at my house right now, ready to go to the game. We got a couple of people driving up here, staying with me as well. I would expect 15 to 20,000. And here's the issue: that stadium right now is only seating like 30 because they've got. If you're going to the game tomorrow, you will notice how much construction they have going on in both end zones. They're going to try to push that stadium a little bit and need to, because it needed some updating. But this year is a bad year to be going to Vandy in that regard.
And by the way, I jokingly say, but not jokingly serious, every game's a road game for Vandy.
It is. That's what Nick Saban was trying to articulate.
Yeah. They don't have a home field advantage because the teams travel. The fans want to go to Nashville and hang out and go to a football game around as they should. Every game's a road game for Vanderbilt football.
And by the way, if you are going to the game, Bobby Burton has something special planned for you that you should check out. Bobby, tell them about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're meeting up over at the Local. It's a bar there in Nashville. It's about 250, 300 yards actually from the stadium. You can see in that map insert that we have on the screen if you're watching via YouTube or Twitter right now. 110 28th Avenue North, Nashville. If you're staying downtown for the game, I highly suggest taking an Uber to and from the game. It'll only be like a 5-10 minute Uber, easy to get back. Again, opens at 11 at the Local. First come, first serve. We have I do not have this huge space available. They have $30 buckets of beer, wings, nachos, and more. Please come join us if you would.
Thank you for that, Bobby.
By the way, people are commenting they put the netting up. I think that's
It's
That's
fake.
a joke.
Yeah, it's fake. I didn't know because people are commenting on it in here. I've been on the road, so I don't know.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's actually been a hot topic in the chat over the past few days, and I've been meaning to get to it and say that yes, that was a troll attempt, a joke on Twitter. So no people have to
apparently it worked, by the way.
Brian Jones says, does an offense like Vandy strive better against a quick attack defense like Texas? It seems like their offense isn't fast acting, but waits for the holes.
I don't know that Texas is a quick attack defense. Do y'all think? I mean, that's not. I mean, look.
I think they're a bend don't break defense.
What'd you say, Jerry?
I think they're more of a bend don't break defense under PK.
Yeah. They're not. I wouldn't say that Texas has been a fast acting or quick attack. I think that Vandy and Pavia, the option in general looks and tries to poke holes where you're weakest and choose the 2 or 3 areas that they want to go after. Texas on the interior, if the interior holds up, this game is going to be about the ends really hemming in and reducing lanes for Pavia and the Vanderbilt run game. Period. Full stop. And I have faith personally in those defensive ends. Maybe I shouldn't because Pavia is such a big competitor, and I do think it's going to be challenging, and he will win his share of battles there. But that is what I come up with, and why I'm going. One of the reasons why I'm going with Texas to win more of a defensive battle at times, actually. So,
and of course, we gave our score predictions, guys. But Freddie wants to know, how do y'all feel about this game? I feel like 18.5 is too much. What has Vegas so confident in the Longhorns?
Maybe Texas has boat raced everybody that's not been a good team. I mean, they literally have. Other than Georgia, Texas has won by an average of 20 points, 25 points, more than that. So that's what has some in Vegas confident. And I also think that there's not a lot of people betting on Vanderbilt these days, and historically. I don't know what has them all that confident. With Isaiah Bond out, that is a loss for Texas. Vanderbilt looks like they're going to be full go, basically, with all of their top end players. I don't know, but I will say now of our predictions, Jerry and Blake, I went 27-17. That's only a 10-point win. Blake, you went 30-13. That's only 17. Jerry, you went 30-20. None of us three has Texas covering in this game.
Yeah, look, I think if Texas was coming in playing really well on offense, I'd take them to cover. But I need to see it right now after the last two games offensively. And I do think what makes a team dangerous is the one that believes they can win. And Vandy has reason to believe they can win. I mean, they beat Virginia Tech. Nobody thought they'd beat Virginia Tech to start the season. They beat Bama. Everybody thought, I mean, that line was 22.5 against Bama, by the way. Then they followed up and they go to Kentucky. Everybody picked Kentucky to beat Vanderbilt, or most people would, right? Especially traditionally. They've already won 3 games this year. People didn't think they were going to win. So that's a team that now has belief. And that's why it's maybe more so than the other game this season, maybe outside of Michigan. But now that we're into the season, it's more important than Michigan that Texas gets off to a fast start offensively and gets off to a positive start offensively. Because what you don't want to have happen in this game is Vanderbilt has a 7-minute drive and scores a touchdown, and you come out and have a couple of 2 first-down punt drives offensively. That's not what you want in this game, because you're going to look up and you're going to be 4 minutes into the second quarter when Vanderbilt has the ball, and they're going to be in control of your momentum, and they're going to have the momentum and control and belief. Belief's a dangerous thing for a team that's beaten teams they're not supposed to already this season. So fast start on offense is huge Saturday for Texas.
Before we move on, Bobby, let everyone out there know about Hargrove Roofing.
Yeah, thank you very much. Over to our friends at Hargrove Roofing, with offices all over Louisiana and Arkansas, and of course, Texas, including Austin. Hargrove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're very Longhorn friendly, with partners like our kicker, Bert Auburn, and former defensive tackle, Stevie Lee. They are the most pro Burnt Orange Roofing company out there. Give Billy Hargrove and the team a call. Call them today for a free roof inspection. Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. There you go. Know who's on your roof. 512-645-3202.
Thank you for that, Bobby. We have more super chats, guys, that we're going to jump over to, and we're going to start here with another one from Jack. I think he's talking about your pregame festivities. He says, "What, Bobby? Not the Grand Ole Opry?"
The Grand Ole Opry is now like 30 minutes away from downtown. The old Ryman Auditorium, which is the original Grand Ole Opry, is still downtown. And if you're staying downtown, I would go by there if I were you guys. That's a great little it's a neat place. They call it Mother Church. So it's a great place, but it's no longer the Grand Ole Opry. It's just now called the Ryman Auditorium. They moved the Grand Ole Opry out to this megaplex in the burbs.
I think Jenny Burton's going to sing for everybody Saturday, right, Bobby?
Depends. That all depends.
John with the super chat. Thank you, John. We appreciate it. He says, in the spring game, the defense got beaten a few times, but in Sark's press conference after, he wasn't worried. He knew the defense was going to be good.
True.
I think he may have said that, but I'll tell you this much, John. One thing he did do, he went out and got a different corner instead of Terrence Brooks after that big bust on the Arch Manning pass. I do think he felt good about his defense. I think that one of the reasons I feel good about the defense is not only their time with PK, it's now that Nansen has done a good job bringing in different elements of surprise. I really believe that. Yeah. Even against Georgia, they did some things to kind of stymie Georgia at times. this will be a true test of run defense as much as anything. And Texas against the only really true, like I would call run-heavy team, was Mississippi State this year. And they showed some level of concern in that game for me. But we'll see where it ends overall. Vanderbilt wants to beat you death by 1,000 cuts, right? They want to beat you 3 yards, 4 yards at a time, maybe hit you for an 8-yard gain, etc. Texas is going to have to limit those, period.
And one other super chat, this one here from Archmania. Thank you, Archmania. We were always taught that defensive line penetration with gap integrity forces loss of timing and space for the option. Can we play on their side of the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, that's the tough thing right there. Like, and that's why I said go watch. If you have time, go watch the Kentucky Vanderbilt 10-minute cuts on YouTube. And watch what happens when Deion Walker gets a little over aggressive, getting up the field and gets out of his lane. Pavia took off right up the middle against him, worked right again. He sees that stuff. So I think, yes, look, I think Kenny Baker's a damn good football coach. And he is your pass rush coach on this staff, by the way. I think Texas is going to be well prepared. I think they're going to play really well. It's going to be 5 seniors on the offensive line for Vanderbilt, starting across from Texas, and they've played pretty well this year. They may not have any high-level athletes on that offensive line, but they have high-level guys that execute well. So, but I do think Texas will win the battles up front. I agree with Bobby. I think the Edges will have a good game. I think the big thing is going to be linebackers in this game, because there's a lot. I mean, with Eli Stowers, the way they use Stowers, with Diego Pavia, with the run game, there's a lot they do. And I'm here to tell you, Cedric Alexander, that running back, when they run quarterback counter power, when Cedric Alexander leads Pavia up in there, he may be 5'9", 195, but that guy contacts people like a 230-pound player. He is fearless. And so linebackers, you can't play around these guys. You're going to have to take them on.
Jack Burton wants to know, he says, I haven't seen any Vandy play. Do they run a lot of RPO?
Not your everyday RPO, but yes. And what I mean by that, that's not really what Pavia does. It's more of a veer type look out of them, traditional option / veer. So it's not an art. Even though that is by definition RPO at sometimes a veer, this is a little bit, the traditional RPO is a little bit different.
Thank you, Bobby. And then our next question, fellas, and I've seen this asked by a few people, so hopefully one of y'all know, but Justin Strawn says, I'm here in Nashville for the game. Does anyone know how long before the game the players arrive and get off the bus?
2 hours and 10 minutes, roughly. 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game, roughly.
So that'll be around 12:30, 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, there's been a lot of people asked that today, actually. Okay, Zane Petty, what do you guys expect the stat line to be for Wingo this week?
I'm going to answer for Bobby. I'm answered for Bobby. 8 catches, 233 touchdowns.
I will say that I think he's going to have his best game as a Longhorn.
I agree. 100%.
7 for 125. I think it's just something about this game with him. I mean, look, Ryan Williams went off against Vanderbilt, the freshman at Alabama. And I think that, Golden is really good. And he's Quinn's guy, I think, to a large degree. So I think he's going to have a good day. But if there's one guy that can flip the game for Texas on Saturday, it's Ryan Wingo. That's where I'm at.
And Freddie wants to know, should we expect to see a lot of Blackwell, Benda, and Hill together this game?
Ooh, or LaFau instead of Benda or Blackwell. I do think you need speed at linebacker in this game. You're going to need people that can cover the tight end.
Yes.
So who's your best cover guy at linebacker? It's even though Anthony Hill can be good, it's probably not Anthony Hill. It's probably Mo Blackwell.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. Because Eli Stowers, you will know his name by the end of this game. They're going to target him 8 to 10 times. He's the tight end for Vanderbilt. He's leading them in receiving. He and Gunnar Helm, frankly, are the two leaders right now for the all SEC tight end. So that will be the guy. You need somebody that can cover him, particularly in third and long situations. He is their outlet on third and long. So we'll see how that goes.
And then Archmania wants to know, what's the Nashville weather report for Saturday? I pulled this up and looks to be pretty nice in your neck of the woods this weekend, Bobby. A high of 69, a little rainy maybe in the morning, but overall not too bad this weekend in Nashville.
It should be gorgeous. It's starting to get fall weather, and it is gorgeous. The leaves are starting to turn as well. It should be a great fall Saturday for football.
All right, and Todd Lacey wants to know, what's the key to causing an offensive onslaught for Texas?
You know, Rod talks about this, right, guys? Texas scores in bunches, 21 points quick, right? 17 points quick. I think it's getting big plays going with Ryan Wingo and maybe Trey Wisner. And I'll say that. So what is the key onslaught? It's probably being able to run the ball a little bit enough to soften up Vanderbilt so that Wingo or DeAndre Moore can get over the top. Those are my thoughts.
I think in this game, Texas can put up 14 points in the first quarter. If they can get off to a good start, I think they're going to have a really good day offensively. And I hate to put it on that, but, you know, look, if Texas gets off, they need to get off to a really good start. Quinn needs to get off to a tremendous start because those players need to believe that he's going to play at a high level. And that they're going to make plays and that they're going to go out. If this game gets to be an ugly game, man, it's a momentum. Vanderbilt plays to take your momentum away in the way they play. It's different. They don't want to get into. They're not going to get into a track meet with you. It's not going to go score for score. Now they had to against Bama a little bit, but that's not what they ideally want to do. I think Texas needs to score twice in the first quarter and get to confidence early in this game. Quinn get confidence early in this game. The offensive line get confidence in Quinn early in this game. The receivers get confidence in Quinn early in this game. Run the ball enough effectively to gain confidence there. If Texas does, they're going to score. They'll score more than the 30 I predicted easily.
Here's the problem with that. They started strong like that against Houston 2 years ago, or last year, Jerry, and then went dead for 2.5 quarters. Okay, you can start strong, but my focus, and this is why I'm saying this, even no matter what the score is, the focus for Texas on offense has to be execution. Just keep executing. Execute, get the next first down, go play the next game. No going backwards, no big stupid plays where you get sacked, fumble, or don't step up in the pocket and get sacked. They have to be smart and execute play after play, and they'll be fine. Quick starts are great, and I agree with you, but Pavia is not going to roll over.
No.
He's a 4-quarter quarterback. He ain't rolling over for nobody. That's just not who he is. So
the problem for Texas, if they get off to a bad start offensively again, then that's when doubt starts entering your mind.
That's when no doubt. That's when Quinn Ewers may not be the quarterback after a quarter and a half.
It's imperative they get off to a good start Saturday offensively.
Yeah, they need to. You're right.
Before we get to our last set of questions, Bobby, one last time, let everyone know about the good folks at BKCW.
Yeah, I appreciate their ongoing sponsorship of the Longhorn live stream here, Coffee and Football, very much. They've been with us for a year now. I cannot thank them more than that. Operating out of their headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your insurance costs and effectively manage your company's risk and employee benefits. BKCW Business Insurance has risk consultants that specialize in many different industries, from construction and transportation companies, restaurant groups, nonprofits, and school districts. You'll get matched up with someone who knows your risks and can help you escape the insurance trap. Get started with a free risk assessment at bkcw.com or send an email, info@bkcw, to get started and get the support you deserve. 512-250-5055.
We have a super chat here from Rapid Calm. Thank you, Rapid. Going to watch North Crowley tonight versus Fort Worth Boswell. Any players to look out for or scout besides Cunningham and Turntime?
Well, North Crowley's one of the top 3 most talented programs in the state of Texas right now, in my opinion. Obviously, Turntime left tackle, but the left guard, Fanuku, is going to Missouri. Really good player. The quarterback, Jimerson, is a tremendous high school quarterback that'll be a really good slot receiver next level. He was a one-time TCU commitment. Running back runs 10.6, undersized guy who's a jet. They will look very fast to you. That I'll say. They have a receiver, Gibson, who's been tremendous as a senior. He's got Ole Miss, Mississippi State, couple offers like that. Now he's small, but he can flat go. If you like Silas Bolden, you'll like him. Defensively, they got a number of guys. They got some young defensive linemen. They also have a young tight end, 2027 tight end, who A&M, Oklahoma, I believe Oklahoma's offered. Some people have offered him. They're a very talented team. And I do think they're headed for that rematch with Duncanville. And it's going to be, they're going to have to score a lot to beat Duncanville. But Ray Gates does a great job there as the head coach of North Crowley. He's kept the kids home, meaning they don't go to Aledo coming out of middle school, that's the key at the North Crowley job. But they're very talented defensively. Caught a couple of DBs that are D1 guys. That when I went through there last spring, and then in August, I stopped by. I thought they had between 15 and 20 Division I players in their program. They're pretty talented now. You'll have fun watching those guys. Really good playmakers.
Jesse, we're going to change gears for just a moment. How's the basketball team looking right now? A lot of roster turnover 2 seasons ago. How will this team look?
Well, they beat TCU 80-52 last Saturday in a scrimmage, closed-door scrimmage in San Antonio. They play Colorado in a closed-door scrimmage tomorrow in Austin, a return game from the one in Colorado last year. I expect them to win by double digits against Colorado. Colorado's a tremendous coach. They lost a lot of really good players off that team. If Texas shot the ball really well against TCU, I mean, Jason Kent hit 3 threes, Caden Shedrick hit 2 threes. Multiple guys were hitting threes in that game. Shedrick's much improved player because he's healthy, can work out through the whole workout in the offseason now. Trey Johnson is as advertised. Trey Johnson, Tremont Mark may actually be the best college player on their team this year. Trey Johnson's the best pro prospect by far. I think Tremont Mark may be a 2-way contract type of player, but big guards playing really well, can be defensively a high-level team on the perimeter because they have size and versatility. Jason Kent, really smart basketball player. Kaluma, they're still trying to figure out guys in the roles because Texas sees themselves having 8 starter-level players. Well, 3 guys. That means 3 guys come off the bench that could see themselves as a starter. Now, in a Kendall Weaver case, he comes off the bench. That's fine. He's got his Serge Jabari Rice mentality. That's what he has. The other guys, they have to make tough decisions. Jordan Pope versus Julian Larry, who comes off the bench in that. And then Jason Kent probably comes off the bench. Kaluma starts, a guy that started a lot of games coming off the bench. But they're going to have 8 starters that play starter minutes is the key there. Devon Pryor played about 10, 12 minutes Saturday against TCU. But they're looking really good if they can pull it together. It's a much better roster than last year, bigger roster, better roster, more versatility at guard and across the board. I expect this scores to come out that they beat Colorado by double digits, and then it gets going next week. First game of the season's in Las Vegas against an NCAA tournament team, Ohio State, who's ranked top 30 in the country. So right out of the gate, it's an NCAA tournament level game for Texas.
What about Blake? Tell folks about the baseball thing that you're going to today, too, just for those people staying back in Austin or want to come in and watch a little baseball for the Longhorns.
Definitely. So the orange and white game is today. The gates will open at 5:45 with batting practice. They'll do that for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then the first pitch will be at 7 p.m. tonight. And then after the game, they'll do kids running the bases, 8th grade and lower, along with an autograph session. So it'll be a full night of festivities. Again, gates open at 5:45 tonight there at Dish Falk Field. So come out and get a sneak preview of hopefully what we can expect to see this spring from the Longhorns. Should be a fun
time. Colt Monroe will super chat his thoughts next week.
Yeah. Sure. Not happening. All right, guys. Well, it's Friday. We're going to close with a fun question here. This one from Brandon. He says, my youngest is homesick and is listening to the live stream with me. This isn't really her wheelhouse, but she wants to know your favorite food. I tried a football-related question, but you know how that goes. Football.
Man. Favorite food?
My favorite, as a father myself, I'm debating whether or not to say my true favorite food or the one that's healthy and still favorite food. My favorite food is pizza, and that's not healthy. So there, I'm all about pizza.
Look, I'm going to go very Texan here. You can take me and drop me off at Texas Roadhouse, and I'll put that honey butter on the bread, the rolls, and then I won't be able to move off the stool if I'm sitting there at the bar watching college football. And then you can give me an 8-10 ounce sirloin, medium well, baked potato butter only, so I can double up, triple up on the carbs. And I'm pretty happy, dude, man.
I do like somebody put tacos. I do like a good breakfast taco too, by the way.
Now on the road, like if I'm not trying to like totally bloat myself and take myself out of commission for a few hours, then Chick-fil-A is obviously the choice.
Jerry, I just have a picture of Jerry on these trips, and the word that keeps coming to mind is gluttony.
Oh, geez. Really surprised we didn't get a mayo on a corn dog from you.
Well, that's one time a year. Now, when I was a kid, I used to do that a lot. You know, the ones you buy, the frozen ones at the grocery store, and you put them in your freezer, cook a couple of them in the microwave, warm up at the same time, dip in a little mayo and go about your day. That was me as a kid. That's what has brought out this travesty of me as an adult at the fair.
Well, I'm with Bobby Petronic and Bobby Burton both. I like a brisket and pizza are definitely my favorite too as well. So everybody's weighing in. A lot of people saying mayo with corn dog for Jerry or Chick-fil-A.
Isaac Darden, Jets. He brought up Jets pizza. My gosh, man. You want to talk about something that'll take you out of commission. If you order one of those Jets pizza squares because you don't feel like you're eating as much, but you end up eating all of them, watching college football all day, and then the next day you're pretty much dysfunctional.
Oh, goodness. All right, guys.
Again, gluttony. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Oh, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by BKCW. I want to thank them along with Duck Camp and Hargrove Roofing for sponsoring today's show. And Bobby, before we go, we've talked about the tailgate, but people can also get geared up for the tailgate and all Texas games with some OTF gear. Tell them about it.
Yeah, we just got a new order in. We were out of some stuff beforehand, but we just got it in yesterday. So everything available now on shop.ontexasfootball.com. Different colors of hats and designs, as well as our mug here that I always use on Texas Football. Shop.ontexasfootball.com now available. You can use that QR code in the upper right hand, or just go to shop.ontexasfootball.com. We appreciate you guys helping us out. We also have stuff coming up later today. Jerry and myself and Rod Babers, as well as CJ Vogel. CJ and I will be down at Vanderbilt, actually on campus, doing the live stream at 1:00. Then we have a one-on-one interview we talked about earlier with Texas tight end Jordan Washington, as well as a one-on-one interview that Jerry had with Texas recruit Javion Hilson out of Cocoa, Florida. Tomorrow morning, we get going with Saturday Conversation, as always, very early at 7 a.m. We've got the pregame show We've got the meet and greet at 11 o'clock at the local during the game, and then watch with us as well as the post-game show, too. We got a full smorgasbord of things going on here for On Texas Football and Texas fans everywhere.
Culture game tomorrow. Texas is the better football team. They got to go win the game. They should win the game. Got to go execute at a high level on the road against a team that believes they can win. I like Texas. Texas should win this football game. And if they go out and play a clean game, they have a chance to cover. Texas should go win the game. They're getting ready to board a flight soon. All the thousands of fans. Somebody asked about being there early. This is the game that the players need your support. They need your support in this one, right? But I think you're going to see a Texas team come out and play a very physical football game after last week. Very physical football game.
And whether you're going to the game or not, gear up for the game by heading on over to ontexasfootball.com. You can use promo code OTFOG. You'll get a full year for just $39.95. Again, promo code OTFOG at ontexasfootball.com. Come get in on the community over there and join in on the discussion with us. It's always a lot of fun over there.
Yeah, join the conversation, guys.
Yep.
Let's have fun. This is fun.
For sure. All right, y'all. Well, we will be back on Monday. Of course, Bobby, as he said, and CJ and Jerry, you as well, will all be heading out through the weekend on here. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell so you're notified anytime the guys go live or that we just post a video, and you won't miss a thing if you do that. But we'll see you on Monday. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.